Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Christina, and I am a literary genre bending writer. And today I'd like to talk about the benefits of having a 9 to 5 job while you are creative. Now, I have been working a 9 to 5 job pretty much since I graduated from undergrad school, with a few years in there where I was unemployed here and there. But for the most part, I have worked an office job for the last 25 years while I've been actively writing. And even when I was inactive writing, I still worked a job. And while I would love to be a full time creative, I think that's everybody's dream. I actually think that there are some real benefits to working a 9 to 5 job while you are also being creative. And one of the things that I have really come to appreciate is probably the number one benefit, which is I get to write what I want to write. There are some people who make a full time living writing, but some stuff they don't actually get to choose. They have to write something that follows up what they did before, like a sequel to a book, even though they maybe weren't planning on writing a sequel. Or they decided that they were going to write in a genre that had a lot of an audience, like romantasy is very popular now. That's romance and fantasy. And if you don't naturally write in that field already, sort of doing the switch up for money may backfire because you don't really love that genre. But if you really love, say, Westerns, and Westerns are not nearly as popular, it may be hard to carve out a living writing Western novels. So when you have a 9 to 5 job, it is a lot easier to write those Western books because you're not beholden to whether or not they make tons of money. My day job, most of my day job, is pretty straightforward, and it kind of always has been. When I first started, way back, I took a job at an electronic publishing company, and it was really fun. I really liked that job. To this day, I think it was one of the best jobs I ever had. It was office casual, so we could wear jeans and t-shirts and tennis shoes to the office. And this was in 1999, so way before, it became the standard. But it was a relaxed office, and my job was to condense literary criticism articles and book reviews into a database. Now, the job didn't pay very much, but every day I got to read the Times Literary Supplement, the New York Times Book Review, the New York Review of Books, the Book World from Washington Post. I got to read literary criticism articles about, you know, ecology in literature and identity and um, gender and all of these really sort of deeper meanings that literary criticism people would talk about. It wasn't exactly hard of a job, but it was kind of fun to read about stuff you read about in college, that kind of thing. And I had that job for about 10 months. And in those 10 months, I started working on a book and I wrote a short story, a very important short story. It's the short story that I say is kind of the one that made me become the writer that I am today, because it was the first time that I had written out of college and I wrote something that I felt was truly my own voice. I wasn't really sure what I had written because it was kind of different. And remember, I said that I had never read any magical realism. So, writing that short story and then discovering my own voice was exciting. And it was nice to have the freedom to do that while working at this job that was a great job and I didn't mind going to. And it had health insurance and it had a retirement plan. But it also was one of those jobs where at 5 o'clock, the job was done. And I did not have to think about that job until the next day at 8 a.m. And most of my jobs out of school have been like that. I have not really worked any high pressure, high time consuming type of job. Most of my jobs are straightforward office jobs where I had plenty of time in the evening or in the morning, in the case right now, the job I'm working. And that kind of security allowed me the freedom to really explore myself as a writer, hone my voice, figure out what matters to me in the type of work that I write, the themes, the type of stories that I want to tell without having to worry about, oh my God, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to afford the doctor bills? How am I going to do all that stuff? So for me, the number one reason that I really love having a day job is that it has allowed me to write and explore and to hone myself into the type of writer I am today. Of course, there are drawbacks. There are always drawbacks. But no one thing is perfect. One of the other things that I really like about having a 9 to 5 job is, quite frankly, there have been times where it's been really hard to write. I suffer from PMDD, and so I have these sort of moments of anxiety fueled depression. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 34, and sometimes it was just really hard for me to write. I just didn't feel connected. But having a job that, quite frankly, wasn't that hard, all I had to do was get up and work, really helped because it took the pressure off of me trying to figure out my writing. And then when I would start to feel better and come out of, my depressive episodes, I would feel grateful that I had the time and space to breathe and not the pressure to work, 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 work. Like I said, most of my jobs have been pretty straightforward 9 to 5 jobs. I don't work on weekends. I don't work past 5 p.m. Right now, I don't even commute. I was completely remote between 2015 and 2019, right before I got laid off from my last company. And I found another job pretty quickly in 2019, and that was like 6 months before the lockdown. And that job, I'm still at that company, although I don't do that job anymore. But last year, about a year ago, they let us go fully remote again. So for the last 10 years, really, I have only gone into the office on a regular basis for about 6 months between September 2019 and March 2020. And even after my company decided to bring us back into the office in 2022, I only went into the office 1 day a week. So I don't really have a commute, and I haven't really had a commute for the majority of the years in the last 10 years. And so because of that, I really can make time either in the morning or in the evening, even when I'm working, to explore my creativity, to do things like, you know, uh, research for my novel, to get stories written, to submit things. I can work around this schedule. Even today, while I'm filming, is the day before Thanksgiving, and I took today off. I have paid time off. So it's 1:30 on a Wednesday, and I have that freedom to make a video. I'm going to do some writing after this video. And I got paid for today because I've earned it from my working. And I will have Black Friday off. And that is because I put in the time to do it. Of course, no choice is perfect. There are definitely days when I work my 9 to 5 job and I am exhausted and I don't feel like doing anything else. I don't feel like writing. I don't feel like filming a video. I don't feel like doing anything except, eating dinner and like watching TV. I want my brain off. But even if I was working for myself, there would be days where I wouldn't feel like doing anything in the evening either. N- I think that some people romanticize what it is to be a writer. They think, oh, all you do is you sit around and you stare out of the window and you have these deeper thoughts that you put down and the book just writes itself. And really, we all have these adult problems and pressures that we have to do. Even if you're a full time writer, you may still have to figure out how to pay your mortgage and how to pay your other bills. Some folks are parents and they think, oh, you're writing in this deep contemplative state, when the reality is you kind of move the toys and all of the paper off to the side of the dining room table, put your laptop down and start typing, because that's how you get your novel done, is in between bedtime and bath time and taking care of the kids. I think it was Ursula Le Guin would do writing and then she would spend like the rest of the afternoon cleaning and organizing and cooking meals and taking care of her kids. There are a lot of people who are full-time creatives, and they also have plenty of other jobs that they just don't get paid for, whether it's spouse or parent or caregiver to their parents. There are people who are taking care of elderly parents, and that requires a lot of time and effort, and it can be exhausting. And you still have to sit down and figure out how to, write your fiction. So, point with all that is no plan is perfect. I like my plan, but part of me is used to it. I'm used to working a, pretty straightforward basic 9 to 5 job and then fitting my creative writing excuse me, my creative writing in on evenings and weekends. But I the times that I was unemployed or times that I have days off like today, I would pretend that I was a full-time writer. And so I would get 2, 3 hours of writing in the afternoon, just to sort of, what it felt like. There is something to be said for working a 9 to 5 job and having that discipline of working 8 hours a day. Now, if you have a job that sucks, then this may not make sense to you. But for me, being able to go day after day working starting at 8:30 in the morning, you know what? It's not hard for me to get up. I even on the weekends, I will still wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, cuz after 20 something years of waking up at 6:30 in the morning, I can do it. And so even on the days off, even on the weekends, I'm still getting up at 6:30, except instead of working at a job making money for somebody else, I work for myself and am trying to build this, body of work, trying to build my garden. So I think that having that 9 to 5 job built that discipline into me. It is not something that I think is odd. Um, a lot of people kind of, like I said, they romanticize writing and they think that, oh, you just work for an hour or two. And look, maybe there are some people that work for an hour or two and they manage to write all this stuff. But most of the people I know who are full time writers or full time creative people, they are working many different things over the course of a normal workday. So they might write for 3 hours, and then they have to talk to their agent or talk to their publisher, or they have to do social media stuff, or they have to go and do other forms of publicity for their stuff. And sometimes they have to do that work on the weekends. They got to go to authors conferences, or they have to go and teach a class or something. So just because you're not working a 9 to 5 job doesn't mean that you necessarily are working less. You're just working on things that are different. And I think that reality should be acknowledged. I don't really believe that there are people who only work an hour and that's all they do, and the rest of the time they don't have to do anything else. But there is something to be said for working and liking what you do so that it doesn't feel like work. If you really love being self employed, then it's not hard for you to work on your stuff for 6 hours a day because you like that job. It's not hard for me to fit writing into my life most of the time, when I'm not going through a little depressive episode, which thankfully, I've learned to manage. So it's not nearly as bad as it was when I was much, much younger. But um, it's not hard for me to fit the writing in. It's like an everyday thing. I write for a couple hours every day and I enjoy it. And so because I enjoy it, it's not really hard. I'm learning to enjoy YouTube. I'm still, a little camera sensitive, camera shy. I don't know, what it is. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do all the fancy stuff, but I don't want to stop making videos. So I just sit here with my microphone and talk to y'all. But it's not hard for me to carve out time to write. It's not hard for me to carve out time to do videos because I enjoy this stuff. And if I have to work a 9 to 5 job on top of it, then so be it. My 9 to 5 job doesn't deplete me creatively. It doesn't require very much creative thinking. So because it doesn't really deplete me, I have plenty left in the tank when I'm done for the day. And truthfully, I actually have a side of me that is very likes organization, and it really likes being, what's the right word? Uh, all I can think of is organized. And I used to think that this job was not really something I kind of fell into, but now I realize that I actually kind of really enjoy my 9 to 5 job because it feeds that organizational bug that I have, that need to put information into categories so that people can find it easily. My job is kind of a quality assurance type job, so I'm good at checking over other people's work and making changes and stuff like that. And the only gripe I really have is that my job doesn't pay as much as I would like it to. But then again, whose job does? We all want to make a little bit more money or a lot more money. So, but that's really my only gripe. I have a retirement account, I have health insurance, and my coworkers are great, my supervisors are great. I Since I work remotely, I don't have to deal with a really annoying commute. And honestly, I think that's a very, very lucky thing. I can't imagine some people who work jobs that they absolutely hate, but they have to work it, because they need the money and they would really love to be doing something else, but they just can't see a way out. Luckily, I'm not in that position, and I've never really put myself in that position. Almost every single job that I have ever worked has been a job that I really, really enjoyed and not one that I ran away from. There was one job that I worked at a nonprofit, but I only worked there 6 months. And I think that 6 months was pretty telling because after 6 months, I said, "Oh, I don't really want to be here anymore." And so I got another job. But for the most part, my jobs have been all the same. In records management, they feed that organizational bug that I have. And at 5 o'clock, the job's done. and I don't have to work anymore. And I can turn that side of my mind off, and I can go and turn on my creative side and do things like this and write my fiction. So 9 to 5 jobs are not terrible if you pick the right one that works with your personality, and it helps, and it doesn't get in the way of your creative life also. I honestly don't know if I'm going to ever be a full-time creative person, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I talked about this before, but sometimes writers tend to lose touch with like the real world. And so having a 9 to 5 job that you like and people there that you like will help you kind of stay in touch with grounded and being in the real world. I forget the writer who said that, like, there's not enough literature about work and the nature of work and what we do as employees in the world. Most writing is about other stuff, family, love, relationships, all that. But work is a huge part of a person's life. What you choose to work, what field you choose to work in, and how you try to spend your time, it can be really interesting to explore. So, anyway, plenty of benefits to working a 9 to 5 job. And right now, for the foreseeable future, that's what I'm going to be doing while I'm a creative person. So if you've lasted this long, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.